Do you know the rate at which black taxpayers are audited as compared to taxpayers who are not black?
No, I don't know.
Well, the answer is black taxpayers are audited at 2.9 to 4.7 times the rate of non-black taxpayers. Another question for you, sir. Yes or no? Will this hearing help alleviate the racial disparity in the rates of the IRS audits? No.
That's not the topic.
Thank you. And with that,
I will the gentleman yield.
I will yield the balance of my time to the ranking member.
All right, guys. So what you just witnessed there was testimony from the congressional hearings going on today involving bombshell IRS whistleblowers who are coming forward and exposing the corruption of the FBI and DOJ when it comes to them going out of their way to not charge Hunter Biden with more serious felony tax fraud charges and instead giving him a slap on the wrist, which could basically lead to evidence that the government and some of our institutions have been weaponized by the Biden administration to protect their political allies and to go after their political opponents, like, for example, Donald Trump. Now, you would think that what they were talking about in this congressional testimony is racism, okay, because that's what that Democrat was talking about, racism. She tried to deflect from talking about anything except what they're actually there to talk about, which is the corruption of the Biden administration and the Biden crime family. Which, by the way, the irony is that the Republicans are actually, by definition, going after the white man, right, for tax evasion. Quite literally, the Republicans are doing exactly what she's asking, right? They're going after the white man, okay, for getting away with crimes that black people can't get away with, right? And she's still boohoo whining and complaining about it, right? It's amazing how that works. And when they're not crying about racism as a distraction, you have Democrats like Jamie Raskins, who is telling people that, hey, this is a conspiracy. And when he's not trying to deflect from the allegations by calling it a conspiracy, he is claiming that, well, the process in which the IRS and the DOJ went through to ultimately give Hunter Biden a slap on the wrist for crimes that would have sent people like, I don't know, Wesley Snipes to prison for a long time, it's a perfectly normal process. Perfectly normal, according to Democrats.
That crusade that they were on to smear President Biden by promoting the same baseless conspiracy theories that this committee serves up as moldy leftovers every day. At today's hearing, we're going to hear about wrongdoing by Hunter Biden, who's pleading guilty on 2 tax charges and a gun charge next week. We'll hear about the back and forth among investigators, prosecutors, and a Trump-appointed U.S. attorney, over a dozen people who spent 4 years investigating the president's son. We'll hear about how they disagreed on investigative steps and what criminal charges to bring, all normal stuff in government investigations that doesn't usually lead to a congressional hearing. But one thing you will not hear today is any evidence of wrongdoing by President Joe Biden or his administration. Like every other try by our colleagues to concoct a scandal about President Biden, this one is a complete and total bust.
Yeah, so when it comes to coverage of this bombshell testimony by these IRS whistleblowers, CNN and MSNBC unsurprisingly ignored, right? They're not really covering it live. They're not really going to talk about it because they know that Hunter Biden and Joe probably can get exposed. And that is quite literally what happened in Congress, as Marjorie Taylor Greene literally exposed Hunter Biden as she brought to Congress and showed to the world pictures of Hunter Biden naked, engaging in, debauchery, right? In front of Congress doing her time to speak. And boy, I mean, this is kind of crazy stuff for Marjorie Taylor Greene, but I mean, this is how you bring out the big guns, okay? This is how you expose to the world that not only this is what the Bidens are engaged in behind closed doors, but also the fact that they're engaging in these activities and they're taking business deductions, right, to participate in debauchery. Take a look.
Chairman,
of Hunter Biden
Chairman,
making
overtime,
sex, excuse me, this is my time,
unbecoming of
making pornography.
Should we be displaying this, Mr. Chairman, in the committee?
The lady's time's expired and went 2.5 minutes over.
Chairman,
If Mr. Bufume wants the 2.5 minutes, he can have it. If he wants to yield some to Ms. Ocasio-Cortez when she goes, she can have it.
But today's hearing is like most of the majority's investigations and hearings.
a lot of allegations, zero proof, no receipts, but apparently some pics. Now, at a certain point, the American people will need some actual evidence. Actual evidence. But we've seen absolutely none.
So regardless of what you think about Marjorie Taylor Greene and her stunt in Congress, whether it was appropriate to show Hunter Biden's nudes, that's the type of content that Democrats actively support kids being exposed to in schools, right? But apparently it's inappropriate for Congress, but totally appropriate for kids in school. Again, the hypocrisy here is stunning, right? It really is. Yeah, so what you have here is Democrats doing the same thing they do anytime that the Republicans have a hearing on corruption of the Biden administration, Democrats, crime, things that Democrats really don't want to talk about, right? Things they don't like talking about. They deflect and they say, well, we should be talking about X, Y, and Z. We should be talking about real issues in this country. Again, these are the same people that spent months and months and months investigating Trump for January 6th, just to really find nothing, right? And again, you know, I mean, they're going to go after Trump for January 6th, allegedly. But regardless, they wasted the American people's time talking about Trump, doing a bunch of hearings on Trump, but yet they want to get mad when the Republicans are doing hearings on the Biden's family and their corruption. Again, it's just amazing to me, right? It's amazing. Democrats didn't spend all that time talking about kitchen table issues and things that actually matter to the American people, and now they want the GOP to do it, right? It's funny how they hold GOP to a higher standard than themselves. But anyways, that brings us to the actual testimony of one of the surprise IRS whistleblowers by the name of Joe Ziegler, who has come forward and is going to give this testimony. We're going to listen to it straight from his mouth. This guy is a Democrat. He's also gay, by the way, if it really means anything. I guess what it means is that this guy clearly is not a GOP political operative. He's somebody that is testifying because, I don't know, he feels like what he observed or what he witnessed was wrong and corrupt. Clearly not a political operative, right? So regardless of how the Democrats smear him, just understand that this guy is a Democrat and he's gay, right? So without further ado, let's go ahead and listen to his testimony here about the corruption of the IRS.
First, in a recent letter to Congress, Mr. Weiss stated that he had been granted ultimate authority over this matter, but then later stated in the same letter that his charging authority is geographically limited and that he would need a President Biden-appointed U.S. attorney to partner with him in charging the case. Mr. Weiss stated that he was making all decisions necessary to preserve the integrity of the prosecution consistent with federal law, the principles of federal prosecution, and departmental regulations. In the Criminal Tax Manual, Chapter 10, found on the DOJ website, Tax Division policy states that cases involving individuals who fail to file tax returns or pay a tax, but who also commit acts of evasion or obstruction should be charged as felonies to avoid inequitable treatment. In early August of 2022, federal prosecutors from the Department of Justice Tax Division drafted a 99-page memorandum. In so, they were recommending for approval felony and misdemeanor charges for the 2017, 18, and 19 tax years. That did not happen here, and I am not sure why. And as the special agent on this case, I thought the felony charges were well supported. When considering the elements of felony tax case, under the criminal code, there are two key considerations: willfulness and tax due and owing. In the criminal context, willfulness is defined as voluntary, intentional violation of a known legal duty. The tax loss is the monetary loss to the government. In early 2020, Hunter Biden's unfiled and delinquent tax returns were being prepared, which included his 2018 tax return. During the 2020 time period, by Hunter Biden's own account, he was sober, newly married, and writing his memoir. Hunter Biden's accountants requested that he sign a representation letter stating that all the deductions were for business purposes and were being reported appropriately. Statements Hunter Biden made in his book completely contradicted what he was deducting as business deductions on his 2018 return. While writing his memoir, Hunter stated, "I holed up inside the chateau for the first 6 weeks and learned how to cook crack." Hunter Biden allegedly falsely claimed business deductions for payments made to the Chateau Marmont, a hotel room for his supposed drug dealer.
Yeah, so this guy was taking IRS business deductions to cook crack, right? Again, amazing stuff. Absolutely amazing stuff. But Democrats don't want you to hear this, right? They don't want you to hear it. They don't think that you should know that the IRS gave this man a felony. I mean, we're talking about hundreds of thousands, okay, maybe even millions of dollars in taxes evaded because he wanted to cook crack. Democrats think, oh, well, this is a waste of time, right? You don't want to hear this, right? And why in the world is the IRS not actually throwing a book at this man? Why is the DOJ not throwing a book at this man? Is there some corruption going on here? Nah, you don't need to hear about it, right? It's a waste of time, according to Democrats.
Sex club memberships, falsely referenced on the wire as a golf membership, hotels he was blacklisted from, and a Columbia University tuition payment for his adult daughter. All of these items were used to support the willfulness element for felony tax evasion. These false deductions claimed by Hunter Biden caused a false return to be prepared that underreported his total income by approximately $267,000 and a loss to the U.S. Treasury of $106,000.
Facts. Fact. Okay, we talk about $100,000 that the government didn't collect. Okay, which again, I mean, it's kind of crazy that the government collects that much money from one individual, but still, when you talk about tax the rich, right? This is tax the rich right here, right? This is what Democrats should be supporting this. They should be all for this, okay? Hunter Biden is a rich man evading taxes, and this is what they rail against all day long, but they don't want any investigation into this, right? They don't want any investigation into why is the rich not paying their fair share when it's the president's son. The hypocrisy is stunning.
Second, with respect to the 2014 tax year, Hunter Biden did not report any of the money he earned from Burisma for the 2014 tax year.
Oh, I wonder why, right? I wonder why he didn't report it. I wonder why. Maybe, just maybe, because it was a part of the alleged influence peddling operation that he was doing with his dad, where, Joe was getting 10%, the big guy, right? He may have thought that, hey, people may connect this to my father, right? Maybe I should not report this at all, okay? Funny how that works.
Which would have been a tax loss to the government of $124,000. According to my previous testimony, Hunter Biden did not report this income to the IRS or pay tax on the source of income. There is nothing that I see in the public documents as to the Department of Justice's action against Hunter Biden that indicate that Hunter Biden will be required to pay tax on this Burisma income from 2014 or amend his 2014 tax return. I would like to note that the plea agreement, when released, may provide a greater understanding. Third, I would like to make clear that the charging document for the District of Delaware, Hunter Biden was charged with failure to timely pay his taxes for 2017 and 18 in excess of $100,000 for each tax year. On Hunter Biden's 2017 and 18 tax returns, Hunter reported taxes owed of approximately $581,000 and $620,000 respectively. This tax amount in 2018 would not have included the alleged additional tax due and owing from the filed false return of $106,000. Thus, as I read the public documents as the Department of Justice action against Hunter Biden, there is nothing that indicates Hunter Biden will be required to amend his false tax return for 2018. A false tax return that includes improper deductions for prostitutes, sex clubs, and his adult children's tuition.
Again, Democrats believe that you shouldn't hear this, right? This isn't something worth hearing, okay? Imagine if any other normal person was taking business deductions to buy prostitutes and hookers, okay? If a Republican was doing it, if Trump was doing this, do you think that Democrats would be like, oh, nah, you shouldn't know about it, right? If Don Jr. was doing this, do you think Democrats would say, oh, you shouldn't know about it? Amazing.
Again, perhaps when the plea agreement is released, it may provide us with a greater understanding. Fourth, the decision to bring felony counts against Hunter Biden was agreed to by both prosecutors and investigators. In the fall of 2021, I met with prosecutors assigned to the case, and we all agreed and decided which charges we are going to recommend in the prosecution report, which included felony counts related to 2014 and 18. In March of 2022, the prosecutors requested discovery from the investigative team and presented the case to the D.C. U.S. Attorney's Office. In later meetings in early August of 2022, the assigned prosecutors, all 4 attorneys, agreed to recommend felony and misdemeanor charges for the 2017, 18, and 19 tax years, insofar as the Department of Justice Tax Division attorney sent an email about the process of bringing charges to include felony and misdemeanor tax charges in 2 separate districts, Delaware and Los Angeles. Less than a month later, Gary Shapley and I met with Mr. Weiss. He stated that he agreed with us regarding the 2014 and 2015 tax year misdemeanor and felony charges, but that this could somehow affect the later year misdemeanor and felony charges that he conveyed were stronger. Despite these facts, the plea deal that is being discussed occurred. To this day, I do not have a reason why that occurred. From my perspective, this might not have been problematic had the investigation been handled in the ordinary course. Fifth, as I had previously testified and is contained in my written testimony, I have outlined for you some instances in which assigned prosecutors did not appear to follow the normal investigative process, slow-walked the investigation, and put in place unnecessary approvals and roadblocks from effectively and efficiently investigating the case. A number of times we were not able to follow the facts. I am happy to respond to questions concerning these instances. Sixth, I will also note that while the impression has been conveyed by the U.S. Attorney in Delaware that he has similar powers to that of a special counsel in this case, free rein to do as needed, that was not the case. It appeared to me, based on what I experienced, that the U.S. Attorney in Delaware in our investigation was constantly hamstrung, limited, and marginalized by DOJ officials as well as other U.S. attorneys. I still think that a special counsel is necessary for this investigation to further handle ancillary investigations that are spun off and relate to Hunter Biden, but may not have venue in Delaware. Lastly, I would like to conclude again by encouraging Congress and the administration to consider establishing an official channel for federal investigators to pull the emergency cord and raise the issue of the appointment of a special counsel for consideration by senior officials. I do not want my colleagues at the IRS, FBI, and other federal law enforcement agencies to go through my frustrating journey and that of our team. I believe such a path will strengthen the public's confidence in their institutions and their fair and equal treatment of all Americans under the law. Thank you, and I look forward to the questions.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, so you seen that, you heard that. I mean, this guy basically laid out some of the improper business deductions that Hunter Biden was taking, right, for his hobby, right? Let's just call it that. His hobby, okay, definitely wasn't a business expense, again, unless he's his business was being a pimp or something like that. Maybe he's into, the Andrew Tate stuff. But anyways, this is what they laid out, right? This is what they laid out. And Democrats say you shouldn't hear it, right? It's a conspiracy. There's no wrongdoing here. You know what they say, right? They're basically trying to say that this is a waste of time. When we know that, again, if this was Trump or his sons or Ivanka or anybody like that, they would want the American people to know about this. They would say that, hey, it sounds to me like the government has been weaponized. It looks like the government is being influenced, or put it this way, some of these agencies that are supposed to be independent are being weaponized or used by the Biden administration to protect political allies and to go after political opponents. That's the argument they would be making. But again, when it's Democrats, though, that are under the microscope, it's a conspiracy, right? It's a conspiracy, and you should know about it, okay? Because MSNBC and CNN don't think that you should know about it. And it really is doing a disservice to the American people when they conveniently ignore these types of testimonies that could implicate the Biden administration and their corruption. Let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.